Good evening. My name is Liz Feidel. I'm the chair of the Collaborative Justice Project Working Subcommittee Group. And I'd like to introduce myself, Liz Feidel, County Council Member, Mayor Carrie Thompson, Karen Renbeck, representing the Public Defender's Office, and April Wilson, representing the Prosecutor's Office with us this evening. We may be having one more come. I didn't hear she wasn't coming, so maybe we'll have a fifth one here shortly, but we have a quorum. So I'd like to begin. So we talked about adopting an amended agenda. Did you want to go through that?
I can. So there was an agenda published for this meeting, but I'm recommending to committee members to adopt an amended agenda, which adds a discussion or an update on what County Council did last night at their meeting. That amends the election of a chair, vice chair to just the election of a chair, and then to have a discussion about scheduling of future meetings. Meeting procedures, including whether the committee wants to adopt an electronic attendance policy.
Okay, so should we have a motion and approve that, or?
That's my recommendation.
Okay, who wants to make a motion to approve this adopted agenda?
I move approval of the adopted agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Can we do a voice vote?
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. All right. So we've adopted the amended agenda. So the update on the county council action, did you want to do that as well?
So last night the county council met and they considered resolution 2026-25, which was to ratify the actions that were taken on June 11th to form the working subcommittee. During that conversation, they did vote to make amendments to the resolution, specifically regarding composition of membership. So originally there was 8 members appointed to the committee, and now there are 6 members appointed, which consist of a representative from the Board of Commissioners, the mayor or the city of Bloomington, the mayor of city of Bloomington or her designee, a county council member, a Bloomington Common Council member, a member of the prosecutor's office, and a member of the public defender's office. And then the sheriff and the representative of the judges are still included, but they've been moved to ex officio status. And the resolution indicates that the designation of their status as ex officio members is based on communication from each of the identified entities that we received that indicates those entities will not be participating at this time. But it also leaves open for the option for if for some reason they would like to participate in future meetings, they are allowed to do so. And then language was added in regarding the duties of the working subcommittee to clarify that the committee is to evaluate 3 or 4 properties within city limits. Previously, there was not the within city limits language in there, and recommend 1 location back to the larger group that met on June 11th, and that the Collaborative Justice Project Working Subcommittee shall focus, their focus shall be on location only. And then there was language, sorry, Councilmember Feidel, one more thing. And then there was language added that the county council members should serve as the chair and will be responsible for working with county staff on the creation of agendas.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? All right. So I see next on the amended agenda, we probably thought about electing a vice chair. Would we have someone that is willing to serve in that role?
I'm happy to, but what are the responsibilities?
Well, I think you show up if I can't.
And do.
At least, and then I don't know about anything else.
Why would I want to be there if you're not there?
Okay, so can she motion herself? I don't know.
Yes.
You can motion yourself.
Okay, I motion myself to be vice chair.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we're doing schedule of future meetings. So we had talked about having maybe submission of agenda items, because I think there might have been some discussion from others about getting things on the agenda. And so I think we need to have things put on the agenda if we're going to call this a public meeting so the public knows what we're talking about.
Can you like?
Oh, I'm
speak
sorry.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
sitting too far away.
I am too far. I've done this before. Thank you. I play that game pretty well. Okay, so we talked about having submission of agenda items so that we can, and the public then can know what it is we'll be talking about at any meeting that we have with this working group. So shall we vote on doing that? Or is that just something that,
President Fidel,
I'm sorry?
President Fidel, I actually have a suggestion if I could.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you want me to do it now because we've come up with scheduling. It's regarding next steps, and I've come with a proposal on how to meet our deadline. Wasn't sure if you'd like me to now since we're talking about the agenda.
Well, we have number 10, well, on my revised agenda, but the next steps, there's number 6 on the original agenda, and it's still number 10 on mine, so the next steps is there.
I just wanted to make sure it was okay for me to share it now. If you wanted me to wait, I'm happy to.
I'll take advice. So do you think we should wait or do it now?
I think that's at your discretion.
I think we'll wait, but thank you, okay? I won't forget you, believe me. Okay, so then submission of agenda items, do we think then collectively as a group that we will want to have people want what they want on to talk about on the agenda? Is that important to everyone? I think for me, I think it is. It makes running the meeting a little easier and the expectations are a little easier. So for instance, if you have something under that next steps, that would have been on the agenda if we had some sort of guideline like that, right? Yeah. So can we agree? Do we need a motion to agree that we're going to submit items for each agenda?
Well, if I may interject, I think
Please.
more importantly, to identify the procedure for doing so. So I think our recommendation is if you have an agenda item that you would like, you would email your corresponding attorney, and then we would collaborate and put together an agenda.
How's that sound?
And I would request that it be 48 hours before the meeting.
48 hours before the meeting. All right, that clarifier. Okay. So email the proper legal. So if you're city, it's city. If you're county, right?
Mhm.
And then 48 hours in advance. All right. And then is that it for that then?
I guess there was an idea. Do you want to go ahead and try to figure out the schedule for future meetings, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that was later.
That's later, somebody said.
Now is good. That was Michelle.
No,
Should
I was
be-
just, I was talking out loud, sorry.
Sorry.
Your microphone works.
Can I make a motion or whatever is needed to hear April's plan proposal? Because I think if a process is going to impact our schedule, we ought to talk about that process. And it's at least important for me and perhaps I assume for everyone here that we figure out the schedule very soon so that we can all do our best to make these meetings.
I'm amenable to that. What do the rest of you think?
Fine with me.
Fine.
Okay. So where are you suggesting we put April in?
Now,
Okay. All right. Is that okay, do you think? Or shall we talk about public comment at meetings first and then work April in?
Okay, so I'm trying to take notes here. I'm not sure what we're doing. So
I know.
I thought we were still on submitting items. So.
Right.
I think this is broadly covered under scheduling future meetings.
Okay.
And so
Thank
since
you.
the plan may impact the schedule of future meetings, that's
Right.
why I think they say it's included under
Right.
item number
Right.
5.
That's fine. So we can
I seem
include,
to have a different agenda than everyone else.
Right, this is
Which
the
may be
amended one.
why I am not following it.
It's because we amended it at the beginning of the meeting. I can print a whole bunch of amended agendas real quick.
Or throw it up on a screen or something. Thank you so much.
Print them off, I'll run to the council.
Okay, so we're on 5, scheduling of future meetings.
Right.
Great.
and then we just talked about submission of agenda items. Do we need a motion to make that happen, or we agreed enough to make that happen?
I think you're good.
We're good? Okay. So then now I think we're going to hear from April, is that right?
That's okay.
I think that's fine.
Thank you. I thought it might be easier. I actually emailed Ms. Turner King a digital copy of what Thank you, Michelle. I just emailed Ms. Turner King a digital copy, and I have paper copies with me, so
Okay.
that way anyone in the watching online can see it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pass out a copy.
If I may, do you want me to display this?
Wouldn't
For the
mind.
public, that would
I was
be
worried that
great.
I wouldn't be able to share that
Thank you.
effectively. Then I have one other handout. So, sorry. Trying to acknowledge that since we have such a truncated schedule and hoping to accomplish the task that's been given, I was proposing a process which is results to scheduling. So one of the documents I gave you was proposed process. With a truncated schedule, I think one of the things we should do is create a site evaluation metrics, identify properties, apply the site evaluation metrics to the identified properties, discuss our findings, and make recommendations. I recognize we only have 3 weeks. That's why you have a calendar, which is included as well. And I probably need to let
Can I have permission to share?
TSD, did you hear the request?
Thank you, TSD.
We got it.
From watching prior meetings, I wasn't precisely clear on what the return date is. They just said 1 month. The next county council meeting that I think would be around that time would be July 14th. So that's why I've put that on the calendar. Ms. Turner King, there are 2 tabs on that Excel spreadsheet. There's one for calendar and process. If we could click on that one, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, that one.
So this is the calendar. That's why I picked July 14th as our deadline. And trying to reach that deadline with this process, it seems like we would have to have multiple meetings. I just put some meetings on a calendar. Obviously, I haven't checked with anyone's schedule, so I understand that they might have to be moved. I did take a look at the Nat Hill room, which is why I put it on the 9th instead of the 8th in July. But my hope was that in order to meet these deadlines, we could use this process and this pacing so that way we can stay on task and hopefully achieve what it's asking us to do. When I talk about the site evaluation metrics, that's the third and the other tab. Site evaluation metrics, what I did is I watched the meeting from June 11th with the county council and the county and the city council, and Commissioner Madeira in that talked about 6 factors, and I tried to use that as a basis. Site profile, she actually said site control, so it's a little bit different, and I fleshed it out. It's not precisely how she worded it, so I want to be clear that I've taken some liberties with it. But I wanted to find concrete questions so we could gather the facts that we needed to be able to have a more methodical, transparent, and comprehensive conversation in front of the community that also included their input and from the perspective of a metric. So separate, I know there's a lot of positions and feelings about it, and I understand that, but I was hoping we could get facts and be able to base the decision off of that approach. The metrics I've come up with is just a start. I am sure that there are many people who have some other input. I do think it's important to start with screening questions. So I did include 2. Is the property in a floodway? Is the owner willing to sell the property? I won't get any more into the subject of it because I know we're talking about scheduling, but that's why I wanted to bring up this approach to see what everyone thought about.
Does anyone from the committee have anything to add to what it is April's presented here?
I like the approach. I would add a couple other locations.
Just ones you came up with,
Yeah.
right?
Thompson's not on the printout. It is on the site, the one that's electronic.
I would still add some other locations. Thank you.
I'm really appreciative of the approach, and I think when evaluating sites, having a rubric that we can all work with makes a lot of sense. I would just like an overnight to review the criteria and add to it or comment on it. But I'm really appreciative of the work that went into this and the thinking through the timeline, because I think this is the best approach that we can probably hope for in order to make a sound recommendation based on where we are right now.
Yeah, so can we all think about what it is that's being presented here and come next time with any additions or corrections? Would that be suitable?
Yes.
Girls' calendar includes that, actually.
My calendar actually includes that, which might help with the
Oh.
agendas.
Okay.
So what I was proposing for today, so we had so little time, I wanted to make sure we came in
I'm well aware
prepared.
of the time, yeah.
Sorry. So what I was proposing for today is that we start talking about the site evaluation metrics, that we open it to public comment this evening to see if anyone who came today has additional metrics. That's the sole purpose of that. Then identify properties, which it sounds like Councilmember Zulik has some additional ones to add. And then invite the community members to submit additional metrics before the next meeting. So that I thought would give us all time to process and look through it, because I know I've given you a lot of information. And then at our next meeting, we will have an opportunity to incorporate those metrics from the public and the committee members, finalize those metrics, and then start our site evaluation, applying it essentially to the properties that we have.
Okay.
I would suggest that members of the committee submit suggested additions by email ahead of time so that we get to a near final, at least something that we can all look at and the public can look at before our next meeting. So maybe giving us until Friday to review those and comment on them so that we can post that with the next meeting.
And where do those suggestions go? Who's going to collect the suggestions?
And I thought you were sending submissions to your attorneys.
Molly, do you want to collect metrics?
I can collect, but I will preference this that we are all at conference the next 2 days, and so I will attempt to collect and work on this at conference, but I also am at conference. So I'm happy to collect them.
I don't know if this is appropriate in this context, but if this is a Google Sheet as it appears to be, could we just add them into the Google Sheet?
No.
I do that.
No,
We're
do not
slowly
do
getting
that?
into an open door thing, I think, there.
Okay.
So what we could do,
I'll have my computer at conference tomorrow. I am perfectly fine multitasking. Sitting
What-
away.
what we can do for open door law, you just can't simultaneously edit. So if you want to send them to us, which pick your favorite attorney. I'll feel a little left out if you don't pick me at least once. But what we'll do is we'll create a read-only document. So as they're submitted to us, we can put them on the read-only document so that you'll have access to it. You'll be able to see that document, but you won't be able to live edit with each other to consult. So
Okay.
that helps with the violation of the open door.
Open
I think Larry just volunteered to take all your comments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
And this document is just the collection of any of the committees or the public's recommendations for metrics? Okay.
Great.
And then so at the next meeting, will it be okay to discuss those at that point? Is that what?
We should have it ready to discuss then, yeah.
And how will the public submit them?
Do we have a single contact that we can have?
We're working on that right now.
We may just consult on that, try to create a single contact for public submissions. And then what I would suggest, and this is just a friendly suggestion, it's not bound by law, we would create a separate tab for all the public comment so that your comments would be on one read-only tab, the public comments would be on another read-only tab, and then in the meetings, you could choose to merge those as you reviewed them. Public meeting choice.
That makes sense? Everybody good with that? Okay.
And so I think my question based on this conversation is, are you okay adopting the proposed schedule as displayed on the screen and prepared by Ms. Wilson?
I can make,
Do you want me to, it has you meeting on Monday the 29th at 6 p.m., July 1st at 6 p.m., Monday the 6th at 6 p.m., Thursday the 9th, and then again on Monday the 13th.
Let me check my schedule here.
So I'm going to have a conflict on Monday, the 13th. Other can move, I think I can move things to be here for all of those.
The only thing I would add on this calendar is I think the recommendation is to be made but to the larger group of the city and county councils. or the group that met on June 11th and not the county council meeting. So I don't know when you would, when that larger group would schedule to hear the recommendation.
So the deadline of the 14th is not.
Yeah, you're not presenting to county council at the county council meeting.
Right.
Since
We just agreed to have it done by July 13th, as I remember.
And then the larger group would have to find a time that they could schedule a meeting.
Yes.
Since the 14th isn't then when we be presenting it, and Mayor Thompson is not available on the 13th, would you be available on the 15th?
There's a council meeting, a city council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Is
At a time?
is the only time this group can meet after 5 p.m.?
No, I can make anything work.
Well, it just depends, yeah. So
But it
Right.
depends on every day.
does after 5 work for most folks? You and Mayor, depending?
Just on the 13th, I could just propose an alternative of a noon meeting.
Oh, I see, okay.
Make a noon meeting work.
I could make a noon meeting work on the 13th.
I could make it work. Is this room available?
Let me check.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Make it work.
Yes, the meeting is, this room is available at noon on the 13th.
Can we just switch that?
Thank you.
Great.
All right, so does that firm up the 24th, the 29th, the 1st, the 6th, and the 9th, and the 13th at noon?
I move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
And changing only the noon on
Yes.
the 13th, everything else stays the same, right? Okay, is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have our meeting schedule. 6 times is from what I see.
That was number 5.
Okay, so looking at the agenda, we scheduled future meetings. We've dealt with the submission of agenda items. The next item on there is how you would like to deal with public comment. Do you want to have public comment every meeting? Do you want to have public comment just at the meeting on the 13th? Any preference?
Well, we are making public comment available through email, a dedicated email, as I'm hearing, right? So there's that.
Those are just from the metric.
Yeah, that was just for the metrics. I think what we'll probably end up doing is we'll have something posted. I can't guarantee it'll be an email.
Okay.
We'll figure out the
But there'd be a way
mechanism.
for the public to chime in or whatever we're going to call that, right?
Yeah, we could, if the suggestion is we could have one part of the submission to be the metrics themselves, and then another is just general public comment on the process. We could set that up, certainly,
Perfect.
if that's your preference, and that's the
It
group's
certainly would be
preference.
my preference. I don't, rest of you?
That certainly would make the meetings a little bit more efficient.
I think so, yes. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Anybody want to motion that, or?
I'll just throw out that we could also do public comment on 1 or 2 meetings, just so that people who prefer to come speak in person have that opportunity.
Okay, so pick a meeting, what do you think?
I would say July 6th, because it's in the middle of site evaluations and nothing is like firmly set in stone. Perhaps the 29th and the 6th, just because there's the solidifying of the metrics and then the site evaluations. I think there are 2 different thought processes there.
29th and 6th? Is that right?
Yep.
And is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question. Are we going to set parameters for that public comment?
We can.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly that would be our recommendation, to have rules and time limits that the committee would set. I think prior to your next meeting, what we could have drafted for you is a standard draft of public comment rules based on some combination of what both councils have adopted already. So that way we're going off pretty well-trod rules that the public's familiar with. Those will typically be time limits, topics, et cetera.
Okay.
Just note that we will have public comment at our next meeting.
And we will have that policy ready for you to adopt at that meeting.
The
then.
policy
Thank you.
itself, yes.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Allen, when we have the opportunity to publicize that, can we do that as well, just so the public is prepared with, to make their speeches?
So yes, one of our goals to hear, to the extent possible, this meeting, maybe notwithstanding, is to have a packet prepared ahead of the meeting for you all so that you can react to that, have that published also for the public to understand what's going to be talked about to the extent possible.
All right. So we finished with the public comment topic?
Yes.
I guess I will just throw out an idea perhaps to be considered later, that we do at the culmination of our process, we schedule one additional meeting that is just for comprehensive public comment, so that the public can watch the entire process, and then we listen to reactions before we take it to the whole group. I don't know if it's worth doing that or not, but
So are you suggesting the 9th?
Or do you want to add another meeting for that?
I was suggesting if we're not going to have, if we're not needing to present anything, that we schedule something, even if we do it on Zoom, so the public can.
I'm a little lost. Can you just help me here? What is the plan here? We would do when?
We would do a full public listening session.
In addition to what's here?
Correct.
Okay, thank
Like
you.
at the end of
That's
all
what I
of
was
these.
confused.
After all the meetings on April's calendar? Yes.
What do you think about making that meeting on Friday? Because then we would have completed the site evaluations. Will that work?
And we have to make a recommendation the next time.
Because then it allows us to really listen to what they say, go back and look at the information we have, and then be able to make a recommendation, including public comment and our evaluations.
So what time are you thinking on the 10th?
I guess I would defer to everyone else's schedule.
Well, my only comment is a lot of the people who might want to speak probably would not be able to attend a Friday meeting, whether it be at night or during the day. That's just my concern, especially because there are a lot of people who are going to be directly impacted by the new location who are at work.
Day do you think would be better?
It might be worth doing, could we do an hour after?
Thursday, yeah, the 9th.
On the 9th?
Yeah, we're here anyway, right?
Yeah,
Can
it's already
has
fresh
everybody
on
got
our
a little
minds.
more time on Thursday the 9th available? So we'd have a 6 to 7 and then a 7 to 8, right?
It's fine
That
with
work?
me.
As long as this room is available past that time.
Yeah, that's a question. Is this room available after 7 or after?
I'm guessing it is, but
On July 9th,
9th? Uh-huh.
yes.
it looks like the room is available.
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to schedule that in. Would that take care of the public comment, your concern there?
Thank you.
Everybody else okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
So we have one more, a little longer meeting on the 9th then. All right. Anything else about public comment before we move on? Then electronic attendance policy, it was suggested we talk about that a little bit.
So the question that I posed to the committee is, do you want to adopt an electronic attendance policy? If you want to allow members to attend electronically by statute, you have to adopt the policy. If you do not adopt a policy, that just means if a member can't come and they join on Zoom, they will not be participating in the meeting.
We thinking,
I would move that we adopt an electronic attendance policy.
Second.
but let me just clarify, do we not still need 4 in person for
You
the
would still
quorum?
need 4 in person.
So no, attend electronically and count that as a quorum, right?
There are 5 of us.
I know, but
There's
if
6
somebody,
members on the
if we have,
committee.
if we have 2 that happen to say that they want to attend electronically, that's just not going to work, even though
So
your
only one
intention.
of us.
Only one can
The
attend
commissioners haven't
electronic.
appointed someone yet though, too. So we will
Right,
with 6.
that's right.
Potentially.
That's right.
It's really just if someone's like sick or something last
Right.
minute, but still wants to attend.
Okay.
I think makes sense.
So how would that policy read? Do you have any guidance on that for us?
I can draft it. I can include language that only one member would be allowed to attend virtually. I would also suggest that we include language that if a member does intend to attend virtually and absent an emergency, that they give 48 hours notice, because then we will be able to identify any quorum issues.
And maybe a substitute, right? A substitute attendee?
Like it doesn't.
They can, you can always send a proxy.
Right,
Yeah. Okay.
right, okay. Right, does that make sense for the electronic attendance? Okay, so we'll see something next time, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so now we're on number 7, where it talks about, in the new revised agenda, but it's basically the phase 1 and 2 and 3 of the property search that we have done all along. So I think there's some division over there who's gonna take what. So there's 3 of them over there. I'll let that figure that out.
I guess if you guys don't mind, I can start, and I'll just briefly run through kind of the property search history. And again, some of this was 5 years ago. I might not remember all the details, right? But the first round was when we had Sheriff Swain, and Sheriff Swain had a request that we look close to the I-69 corridor so that they could transport inmates to the medical facilities in Indianapolis if there was in the event that was needed. So, and I think you guys all received some material about this, and it's in the packet. So we basically looked at, and we called one property north, which is a property off Vernal Pike, which also was in round 2. And then we looked at Fullerton Pike, and we looked at a property further south. The one further south didn't get a lot of traction because it's so far south. But there was a lot of back and forth, at least at the initial meeting, between the Fullerton Pike site and the Vernal Pike site. We reached out to the owner of Vernal Pike, and they weren't interested in selling at that time. So that kind of eliminated that. So that's how we got to Fullerton. We went through the city council process. City council rejected it. So then we went to phase 2. And phase 2, we looked at, I'm going to say 4, but it's really 6 sites. The first is there was a site right next to where the Fullerton site was in the county, just south of Monroe Hospital. Right off the bat, we looked at that. It was too small to be able to do a co-located facility there. And then our second site was Hopewell, which was clearly the closest to downtown, the old IU Health / Bloomington Hospital site. We reached out to the people in the city, and the city indicated that they weren't interested in utilizing that site. I mean, I think one of the questions is that answer still the same, or has that changed? The third, and I'm going to call it the power line site, out of deference to committee members, we looked at that, and really,
Do we have an address for that site? I would really like to just call it the address.
I mean, I guess one of the issues with that site is that there's no real road infrastructure that leads to it. So I think if you look on the GIS, it's just called a site off Rogers Road.
Okay.
Right?
Well, that's the only one we have that we ever considered off Rogers. Is that correct? Is that the only one we ever considered off Rogers?
Seriously, I think yes.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
can we call it the Rogers Road site?
You could whatever the committee wants to call it, we'll call it that.
All right.
But my notes say power line, so it might be power line for tonight, and we can rename it after.
Okay. All
But
right.
but really, and I don't think there were a few issues that needed to be addressed.
Yes.
I think that the one that really was the one that caused us all to quit looking at it was when we discussed it with Duke Energy, that they needed time, and quite a bit of time, 2 years to move the power lines before we could begin the construction, and that was an issue. And then I also think we knew that they were going to have another issue, but we never got to it because of the 2 year with looking at the infrastructure, the road infrastructure, making sure it was adequate to have serve a co-located facility, right? That process we never got going, although we knew we were going to have to. And then the fourth was the North Park property. Now, I said 6 because when we initially looked at North Park, we were looking at a different portion of North Park. We were looking kind of more northwest kind of where that, if you drive on 46, there's a, I guess, stubbed out 46 that it's not used. We were kind of looking in that area of North Park, and I think later when we went through the process, and that had some ravine and those kind of issues with it. But when we talked about North Park that went to the county council, we're talking about one that's much more central to that area and right off of what was Curry Pike, now Hunter Valley Road. So we looked at both of those. And then finally, we looked at the vernal site again. When I said before, we looked at kind of an expanded version because at that point, the seller had indicated, yeah, we're willing to sell now. And so we looked at that again. There were a variety of issues with that, mostly dealing with co-location because we did not feel that we could co-locate that where the facilities would allow for the transportation of inmates from the jail side to the court side without going outside or really doing some strange things. So that's kind of the round one and round two, and I'm going to turn over round three to my colleague. Any questions, though? I'm more than happy to.
Just to be clear, on that vernal site, the transfer of prisoners was insurmountable according to the design experts.
Am I remembering also there were karst issues at that site?
I think the karst issues is what, and the slope. I mean, I guess at that point in time, and I want to be clear, at that point in time, we still had different rules when it came to slopes and what we could do with planning wise with slopes. And if they moved it to 25, I'm not sure that would look the same, right? I just don't know, because we were looking at slopes when they hit 15. And now if the rules change to 25, I don't know. But the engineering group is the ones, and I think we could probably provide you with some pictures of how they had everything crammed in there and all that kind of stuff if you guys need it. I don't know if that was provided or not, but it certainly
Karst topography was also a major issue there.
Karst topography is a major issue pretty much anywhere.
That's what I mean. Yes. So that's why I was clarifying.
There was some karst, but I think the slope was kind of the bigger because it was carved it up pretty well.
Okay, thanks.
So I think that Jeff's summary takes us up to roughly October of 2025. At that point, the council, we've already talked about North Park. So DLZ, which was the engineering company, was requested to identify properties downtown on the outskirts of Bloomington. Within your packet, there are 6 properties, including a property south of the post office, the Bloomington Transit Garage, a Tap Road South, a Tap Road North, the HT building, and the Fell Iron Bender Lumber property. Considerations that were taken into account when looking at those properties was the property large enough to accommodate future expansion or co-location? Because as depicted in the packet, only a footprint of a jail was placed on that property. So in the packet, it does not have a co-location. Then we looked at, was the property located within a floodplain, floodway, or the floodway fringe? And is the property set for sale by the owners? And based on those 3 questions, all 6 of those properties were not found viable. And in the packet, if you look on the side of each property, there's notes that the engineering company put regards to why that property could slightly be problematic. That brings us to now, if anyone has questions.
A question. Thank you for that. I've heard from multiple people that there's a site that's directly attached or near the Zitlow building that is a potential, but I'm curious if anyone knows more about that, because.
Are you talking about the Curry building?
It might be.
Is it to the west of the Zitlow building? Do you know?
Yeah.
To the west. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's several buildings that are near the Zitlow building, and one of them is Curry. And Curry is actually, I included it. I'm glad you brought it up. Someone had mentioned Curry to me, so I included it on the list. So that's where that marcation is.
Thank you so much.
It was discussed in our in the large group meeting that we had, and with potential of needing some historic facade preservation, et cetera.
So we're throwing that one in there now, right? Yeah, okay.
Oh, I think that concludes the historical review of the county's property search. And so if there's no questions, then I think we can move on to the review of the zoning PUD process.
Good.
And since this is preliminary, I'll keep this fairly short, but it is a good segue into that process. So whether you're talking about the Curry Building or the Roger Street property, both of those would require, for instance, rezones within the city. The exception is the Thompson property did include, as part of the PUD for it, inclusion of a jail, but there were very specific metrics. So if you do go outside of those specific metrics that are approved in the PUD, you would just have to amend the PUD, which essentially goes through the exact same process as a rezone process. And the thing to keep in mind is that does come with timelines that are statutorily set, notice timelines, but they're not insurmountable by any means. It just is something that we would need to line up as you discuss these properties. One of the things I think we would want to present you with is how to meet those deadlines and what the fastest possible route for consideration is, because you have to give notice, obviously, to all the neighboring landowners at least 21 days before any hearing. It would go before the Plan Commission, and then it would get finally approved by the Bloomington City Council for those changes. So that is a little bit of a deeper process. As we narrow down the properties, and even with the list of properties, as you add to them, what we will try to do is have current zoning it would take to change it and what that process would look like. So have those links so you all can have full information. If you want more detail about that, which I assume you absolutely don't at the moment, then I'm happy to answer those questions.
Larry, forgive me, Curry and which other property definitely need a rezone?
Curry is the biggest one
Okay.
that we talked about recently. It has another, potentially if the facade is historic designation, you would also need some sort of Historic Preservation Commission review. Those can happen in parallel, though, so they don't necessarily ruin each other's timelines. Both come with public notice.
Thank you. I'll reach out to the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission to talk about what kind of timeline it would look like on their end.
And I think the other property that Mr. Allen was identifying was the power line property.
Yes, off of Roger Street. That's the one that's subject to a PUD already. That is allowed. A jail's allowed, but with very specific metrics.
And I guess I would just chime in that I'm not sure if we look at anywhere in the city, any of the properties you see are not going to require a rezone. I don't. You guys could potentially come up with one, but it's very limited on what would be zoned in an area where you would not need a rezone, and you would just have to go through the BZA process.
I think that's likely right. There's a lot of mixed use zoning within the city that allows as a not a by right use, but certainly as a conditional use for approval for that type of industrial.
That is incredibly helpful because it brings me to one of the questions that I had. One of the categories that Commissioner Medea talked about was legal permissibility, and several questions that I listed regarding the site evaluation metric. So when we get to specific property, what is the most effective way for us to evaluate a site, to understand what the zoning requirements will be in one of these meetings, so the public's aware of what the requirements and we are? Do we need to invite someone who's the representative from the historical, or can you explain it to us during one of the meetings? How does that work?
I think that would be my primary role here. Otherwise, I'm pretty useless for the meeting. No, it's to have that information for you all for each property. So the thing is just having a definite list of properties so that we have that list. I certainly can walk through. If we do need to bring an expert in, we will absolutely do that at the request of the commission. If you want to hear from a historic preservation director, we can do that as well. But in terms of the general rules, what they're zoned as, whether it's historically protected, that's information we can have for you, and the general way of changing that. And as we narrow in a property, we may get more granular in terms of what that includes.
Thank you.
To move on? Does that conclude your,
All I have, unless there are
Okay.
other questions.
so next I see is the process to identify additional properties for consideration, right?
Correct. And so I think this is a recommendation from all of the attorneys on how to identify properties that haven't previously been considered. Typically, we discuss properties in executive sessions. And so I think it is our recommendation, if you are proposing some new property, that you would, in the same way you submit agenda items, and send it to your corresponding attorney, and then we can determine if that property is appropriate for discussion outside of an executive session.
Can I just add just a little bit? In terms of one of the things I think that is a misnomer just for the public, not really for anybody on this commission. Sometimes they think we're meeting an executive session to keep things from the public. That's not exactly the purpose of this. I think you all are aware, but for the public's knowledge, anytime a governmental entity is considering buying a property, it really invites speculation on that property. It can inflate the values. It can make it very difficult for development and to get things going. And so one of the reasons why we use executive sessions, and the reason why it's statutorily allowed, is so that you do not invite that type of speculation, so that we can have a conversation, consider it, vet it to the extent necessary. Of course, no property can possibly be purchased or approved without a public meeting. So I just want to make that very clear. There's no scenario where we talk about something in executive session and it stays secret behind closed doors through the very end. It does come out into the public. It's just in that initial vetting process to keep this affordable and economical for the public.
And it should be noted that this group does not have the authority to actually approve a property anyway. This group is just making a recommendation to the actual decision makers.
That's right. Thank you for that reclarification.
So
All right.
do we need a motion for that?
Pardon me?
Do we need a motion for?
For,
I think it was just a briefing.
don't know that we do
For-
need a motion.
For the process to identify additional properties?
Need a motion for,
No, we're just asking as just a matter of course, just send those to us directly.
Right. Okay. The next steps and goal for the next meeting, maybe? So,
I think this is where we talk a lot less and we look to the committee for guidance on what the next meeting looks like.
So can I?
yes, go ahead.
So one of the things I was hoping we could do is maybe add some names of properties already. I know that Ms. Renbeck caught that I didn't include Fullerton, so I need to add that one as well. But it might be helpful to just go through some of the metrics that exist now and see if the public has any they want to. I think the next meeting is when we're going to try to incorporate them and finalize. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to include any discussion or go over what we have now.
What does the committee think?
I need to depart, but you will still have quorum without me.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on this issue before you leave?
Just that I think that we already discussed the process for submitting properties that have been examined and can just go on this list, and those that have not been publicly vetted yet. So I feel like we've done that and can have a list before the next meeting.
Okay. Anything else we're missing here? And then the goal for next meeting, is that different than anything we've talked about, or we're pretty set on that? I think we're set. Yeah.
suggesting metrics and trying to identify properties, I think is it.
Suggesting
Really-
metrics and
Sorry,
identifying
I'm far away from
properties.
this thing. Suggesting metrics and identifying properties are kind of the two main things, right?
It
It
seems
also
like that'll
says
be.
Start
So
site
did
evaluations.
we hear it over there? Suggesting metrics and identifying properties are the two things at least on the next meeting.
That is the goals identified on Ms. Wilson's calendar.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
That is the goals that are identified on Ms. Wilson's calendar.
Okay, thank you.
And public comment.
Yeah, and
Public comment to follow the meeting, is that correct, for the 29th?
On
That was for
Yeah.
the 9th. The 29th is going to incorporate.
the
Yeah.
9th
The
will be
29th,
the
yeah.
7 o'clock public comment time period. Yes. All right, So what do we have left? Are we going to adjourn early? We scheduled an hour. Does anybody else over there have anything? No other questions? No final comments? All right, if I call it adjourned, I think we're adjourned. Thank you for all
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you for your service.